everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin, or Hobbit's Reading List, and today we are going to figure out what I will be reading in the month of June for my Pride TBR. So, as I mentioned, I will be rolling for my Pride TBR, so I'm going to aim for all my books to be queer in some way. We'll see what happens. The previous two times I've done this, I think last year I got like half of my TBR, maybe, to be queer, and the year before I had like maybe 2 books. So we will see. If this is your first TBR video, I play a game called TBR Pursuit using the Lord of the Rings Trivia Pursuit board. Each color represents a different genre that represents the 6 most popular genres on my physical shelves, which are, of course, LGBT, as well as romance, classic, fantasies, Jewish, and psychology. I typically roll about 7 times. I do have an option, however, that adds another book to my TBR, which is the purple roll again spot. There are also the bigger spots at the end of the spokes that represent Miscellaneous, and that accounts for all the other books in my collection that don't fit in those 6. So, I also do not have a consequence book because I actually did very well on my reading in May. I do, however, have a book that I need to read, which is the PG Wodehouse, so I'll be talking about that at the end of the video after I do the TBR. So let's get into it. I've mentioned this in previous videos, but the first roll is pretty much a gimme, so whatever number I get besides 6, I will just be going for the blue because that is LGBT. 1. Great. Ooh, my biggest LGBT book. Oof, okay. Okay, my biggest queer book. I'm a little surprised by this one. It's Cupid's Calling. I have had this book on my TBR so many times, but I sorted on Storygraph my TBR of queer books and sorted it by page number, and it said this was the highest. It said it had 405, which, okay, that's being a little generous. There's, okay, 396, which I still think of the queer books that I have is probably still, yes, the longest, but that's fine. So this is about 2 men who enter a dating contest. One of them is like legitimately looking for love, and the other one wants a free vacation. And they're competing for a woman, and they're not expecting to fall in love with each other, but they do. So I do really want to read this, despite the fact that I have not read it the past like 3 times it's been on my TBR. So hopefully I will get to it. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's gonna be Jewish because I don't have any other option. Oh, and it's about the Holocaust. That is not the vibe I was going for. A Jewish book about the Holocaust. So this one was hard because the books that are on my TBR that are Jewish, it's weird. None of them mention the Holocaust. Like I picked up a couple because it's like any Jewish book, right? With any book that is like about the religion or has representation. So there are like romances and stuff in there. And I looked through them all, and even the nonfiction book that I know, it's called People Love Dead Jews, and so I know there's going to be mention of the Holocaust. It was not mentioned in the blurb. So I'm like, and it also wasn't mentioned in any of the chapter titles, so I'm like, I don't think I can pick it. Which is fine, because that's not really like, it's an important book and I do want to read it. I don't want to read it in June. So I ended up having to go to Barnes & Noble to find a Jewish book with mentions of the Holocaust. At least mentions. And I did find one. I combed through Instagram for posts that were made for Jewish American Heritage Month, looked for ones that mentioned the Holocaust, and I found The Summer of Lost Letters. So this is a young adult book, and it's about this girl named Abby. It's the summer before her senior year. She's just gone through a breakup, and her grandmother has recently passed away. And she receives, a box of her grandmother's possessions, including love letters that she received. Now, her grandmother left Europe when she was 5. She fled Germany at the age of 5 due to the Holocaust. So there is a mention of it. I'm assuming that's probably the only thing of, like, because her grandmother was young. But it's the only book that I have and or was interested at this moment that mentions the Holocaust. Even if it doesn't feature predominantly. I may be cheating a little bit here, but I want to be happy. I will read all of, my nonfiction books and my history books and everything later in the summer. Not all of them, but I will read them, but not this month. Anyway, Abby gets these letters. She's very curious. She ends up going to Nantucket, where these letters were sent from, and ends up meeting the grandson of the man who sent her grandmother these letters. And the grandson is apparently trying to keep Abby from, like, finding out more information. And I believe they end up becoming closer and developing feelings for each other. So I thought it sounded really, really cool. I do like that it is set in Nantucket. Even though I'm not going to Nantucket, I am going to New England. I'm going to Boston and then to Maine. So this has the vibes that I want. I'm using a lot of justification for picking this book above any other that may have been more specifically about the Holocaust, but 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just LGBT. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just fantasy. Okay, so LGBT. And it's a TBR veteran, so that means it has to have been on my shelf for over a year. Okay, an LGBT book that is a TBR veteran, which means that it's been on my TBR for more than a year. And I picked up Just by Looking at Him by Ryan O'Connell. Did I pick it up because it's queer, it has water on the cover? Yeah. That is true. So this is about a man named Elliot. He's 35. He has cerebral palsy and he's a writer for a network show. And so on the surface, his life looks really great. He has a supportive boyfriend, but it says in here that he's tired of being grateful for all the good things in his life because of his cerebral palsy, and he's tired of not being able to do the things that his able-bodied peers can do. And so he ends up sort of getting into this arrangement with this sex worker as a form of empowerment, but he realizes that it's just another form of escapism for him. And so he tries to find ways that he can love himself just for being himself instead of escaping it. So it does sound really interesting. Curious about the water. There's no mention of water, but that's fine. But yeah, I'm glad I'll be reading this because I have heard good things, and it's supposed to be really funny, which we'll see. Although the recommendation on the front is by Melissa Broder, which I don't have anything against Melissa Broder's, but she's not my type of author. So, so it does make me a little nervous. Okay, for the fourth roll. Ooh, 1. Okay, so I can go classic or roll again. Classic, I could aim to get the Wodehouse in there. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Watch this blow up in my face. It's a hardback. Fuck. That does not bode well for me, just looking at my shelves. Classic that is a hardback. I knew this was gonna screw me. I should have just gone for the other option. Yeah, because I only have 2 classics that are hardbacks. Not both of them are quite large. It was not at Blandings, or it was not at PG Wodehouse. So I'm gonna read Uncle Tom's Cabin. Yeah. I can't tell you what it's about, really, besides slavery. I don't like that the secondary title is Life Among the Lowly. That sucks. Okay, I'm just gonna read this little paragraph, because this is what the story is actually about. Stowe's rich, complex, melodramatic novel movingly brings to life black slave society and the white lives that impinged upon it. It focuses on the stories of 2 slaves, the gentle but uncompromising Uncle Tom, sold down the river and brutalized by the planter whose name remains a synonym for cruelty, Simon Legree, and Eliza, who flees with her children across the frozen Ohio River to freedom. With its extraordinary capacity to move, outrage, and inspire its readers, it evoked a surge of indignation that made a crucial contribution to the abolition of slavery in America. So much for me wanting to be happy in June. No, this is an important book, and I have had it for a very long time, and I do want to read it, but it is intimidating. It's quite wide, so it's not my favorite. But like I said, this is important, so I will see if I get to it in June. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. So the option is either LGBT or a roll again, which adds a book. I'm gonna go ahead and go for LGBT just because it's right there. Okay, it's an LGBT book that is an audiobook. Okay, an LGBT audiobook. I kind of just went based off of like newly acquired. Well, and I do really want to read this book because I just got it a couple weeks ago and it sounds really cute. It's called Fall for Him. And it's about these neighbors in an apartment. They live on top of each other. And one of them accidentally causes a flood in his apartment. He lives on top. And he fell through the floor, landing directly on his downstairs neighbor's bed. And they they don't tell anyone for some reason. So Dylan, the man who fell through the ceiling, offers to fix it himself, but now Dylan and Derek have to live together while the repairs are going on. So yeah, it just, I don't know, it sounds really cute, it looks really cute, it's an audiobook, so yeah, I'm excited for that one. I can't tell you why, it just appeals to me. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and add a book. So now I will have 8. And let's stop rolling ones. There we go. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Classic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just romance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which is Jewish. So I'm gonna go ahead and go for romance because most of my romances are queer. Okay, a romance with a holiday. It's not summery. Okay. A romance with a holiday. So this one was also hard. I had to go to Barnes & Noble for it because I think I mentioned this last month, but like, unless it's something like, unless it's like a Christmas or a holiday novel, like it won't say it. So I ended up picking Go Luck Yourself, which is a sequel to Nightmare Before Christmas. So this one is following Nick's brother Chris, who is a Prince of Christmas, and he's investigating someone who's trying to sabotage Christmas. This world is really funny. The only clue of who is trying to sabotage is a shamrock. And so, of course, Chris goes to Ireland to investigate St. Patrick's Day and the Prince of St. Patrick's Day, which is where he discovers that the Prince of St. Patrick's Day, Locke, is also a classmate of his who they like compete for like grades and stuff. Nightmare Before Christmas was really well written. I really enjoyed it. and the magic system is just really fascinating. So I think I will really enjoy this, and I figured since it's about literal holidays, it fits, and it's queer, so yay me. 7th book, 2, which is Roll Again, or LGBT. Awesome. A 5-star prediction. Awesome. An LGBT 5-star prediction. So, with this, because I already had selected Fall for him for my audiobook, I picked up Time and Time Again, which was recommended to me by the service TBR. So it should be a 5-star prediction. But it is about a girl who gets stuck in a time loop on August 6th. And, you know, she's desperate to escape the time loop until her childhood crush Jess also falls into the time loop. So now they are, I wouldn't say working together. Jess sort of convinces the main character Phoebe to not stick to routine. Like, they're in a time loop. They feel there's nothing that they can do, and so they might as well take advantage of it and go outside their comfort zone because there's no real consequences. So they end up sort of coming closer together, but Phoebe is insecure because she wonders if Jess, you know, would give her the time of day if they weren't stuck in a time loop together. So I don't know, I think it sounds really interesting. I think it sounds fun. Could be fun. Okay, and for what will probably be the last roll, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is psychology. 2, 3, 4, 5 is Jewish. Or fantasy. Ooh. Psychology, Jewish, or fantasy. You know what, let's go fantasy. My most anticipated. I think I already know what book I'm going to put here. Alright, my most anticipated fantasy book. I had 2 options. I had this and a different. I had this and The Ragpicker King, which is the 2nd novel in the Swordcatcher series by Cassandra Clare. I decided to go with this one though because it fits the vibes that I want for June. Well, fits the vibes because it is featured on the sea. I wouldn't say it fits the happy vibes. But it's Flowers for the Sea. It is a novella. It's quite short. But it is a lush gothic fantasy about the prices we pay and the vengeance we seek. So not happy vibes, but ocean vibes. Yay! It says, survivors from a flooded kingdom struggle alone on an ark. Resources are scant and ravenous sea beasts circle. Their fangs are sharp. Among the refugees is Araxi. Ostracized, despised, and a commoner who refused a prince, she's pregnant with a child who might be more than human. Her fate may be darker and more powerful than she can imagine. Sounds interesting. So I got this at like an adult book fair, and I can't tell if she's like, if she is like some sort of like octopus creature or she's wrapped up in tentacles. I'm confused, but it sounds really, really fascinating. And the fact that it's shorter means that, like, I don't know, I think that's a good sign for gothic novels because you don't get bogged down in like detail, like too much detail. You get the story and whatever it's trying to convey. So that's exciting. And then the only other book that I will be reading, it'll be my 9th, is the P.G. Wodehouse book, Blandings, Castle, and Elsewhere. What I know about it is that it is a collection of short stories, which I've discovered is not a good sign for me, but I believe 4 of them are Blandings Castle, 4 of them are Mr. Mulliner stories. I think there's like 2 others. Yeah, so we'll see about that one, how I feel about that. But those are my books for TBR, for my TBR. I think I did pretty well with making most of it queer, so yay. It's exactly what I want. Make sure you leave a comment if any of these books are in your TBR or if you have read them before. And like the video, subscribe, click notification bell, especially so that you get notified whenever I upload a vlog so that you see my thoughts on these books in almost real time. And I will talk to you in the next video.